welcome back to our garden. Today we're going to be working in the front, laying down the cardboard. But first, I think we need some scissors. And we need to feed the birds, so come on and help me. Now these straw flowers, they look dry, so let's take the time to put them in these glass jars so we can display them. They were still a little bit soft, so I think I'm going to put them back in the garage to dry some more because we don't want them to mold. Now the green stalk tears, they're looking really good. I just uncovered the fleece for the morning. The next 4 nights, it's not going to be below freezing, so I'm going to keep the fleece off. Now see the sun, it's about to peek around the corner. That's why we needed the scissors. Now my number 1 garden tip is to use cardboard. Spring, summer, fall, winter, doesn't matter what time of year, lay it down in the garden to block weeds and to retain moisture. That really is my number 1 tip. Now, if you saw a recent video, you know I lay down cardboard every year for, I think, the last 11 years. And everything under the cardboard, like the old plant matter, these are the old zinnias, weeds, like these dandelions, just leave them and cover them up. Even the old mulch. Here, let me find some. That's the wood mulch that I put down fresh last year. Just lay the cardboard on top of all of that, and over winter, everything's going to break down into new, rich soil. That's how you're going to feed your garden. Now, I'm going to start along this edge. We're not going to cover the very front because we have spring flowering bulbs in there, and we can't block those. So this line of straw flowers has helped me get to know where to start the cardboard. I'm going to leave those straw flowers in until the flowers are completely finished blooming. Yep, we're going to save that. Now here's some old tape. See all those little volunteer zinnias? I'm just going to leave them there. We're not going to bother to pull them up. We're just going to cover them with the cardboard. It's going to break it down and it's going to feed the soil. Worms love cardboard. My gardens are just chock full of worms. Now, you don't have to use big sheets of cardboard. all sizes have their benefit. I needed a smaller piece along the edge here. Look at those strawberries. See, I needed to scoot up right up into the edge. We can't cover these strawberries or they'll die because they need to grow back next year. This was just perfect right up against them. And you see, in November, we're still getting strawberries. And yeah, the nights have been below freezing, but here in the front, there's a warmer microclimate. Okay, guys, look along here. See all those staples? Now, we're fortunate that Dale can find big pieces of cardboard like this near our home downtown where all the shops are. But many big boxes have staples. I don't take the time to pull them out. You can if you want to, but I do make sure to put the staples face down, the pointy side down. Okay, look at this. This is an example of last year's cardboard. It's almost completely broken down. Here's some trash that I found too. Now let's discuss tape. I don't take the time to peel off the tape. I don't have the energy or the time for that. But if you're not comfortable leaving the tape, then go ahead. Feel free to do it. I see the benefit of using the cardboard with or without the tape. Of course, it's not going to break down, so I do find it in the garden. Every day I'm going to walk around the garden, I just pick up any tape I see and throw it away. Now this is better because this is some paper tape, but most of the tape on your boxes are going to be clear plastic like this. Now the big benefit of the cardboard is blocking the weeds. Now I have tried weed fabric, I just wasn't a fan. I found that my garden dried out easier. It actually developed big cracks. I much more prefer the cardboard. But any gaps in the cardboard, weeds are going to grow through them. So little pieces of cardboard like this are perfect for scooting under those gaps. It's going to help. I mean, of course, some weeds are always going to find their way through. See these gaps here? Now I've blocked them with a little piece of cardboard. Okay, I have this one little spot left, but I don't want to use another big sheet of cardboard because it's going to, like this one, because it's going to create a double layer and it's just going to be too thick. I do want rain to soak through the cardboard down into that soil. And if I have double cardboard, it's just going to be too thick and the soil's going to stay dry. So let's find a little piece, and it'll be the last part of this front garden. Now, because I don't plan to mulch it today, I need something to hold it in place. And I'm going to use these landscape pins because the wind will take this cardboard and carry it away. See the landscape pins? We're just going to pound them in and it's going to hold the cardboard in place. Now, I used to use bricks, which you can use, but it was a lot of work and I just really don't have enough. Now see back here? I'm not going to put cardboard behind that trellis. That's a compost pile. Now I prefer to chop and drop my plants and mulch them in place. But some things are so big, or in the summer when I get so busy, I just toss the old plants back there. And they're going to slowly break down. So I'm going to leave that open for the rain to soak through over winter and help break all that down. Now if you notice along this back edge it's popping up. I hammer it down and it pops back up, and that's going to be okay. It doesn't have to be perfect because this wood mulch, it's heavy and it's going to weigh all of this down. I simply want to hold this in place overnight so the wind doesn't blow it away. See, that's gonna be fine. Now, if I was using leaves in the front, yeah, it would be a problem because the leaves wouldn't be heavy enough to hold it down. Or if I was going to be walking back and forth here a lot, I might trip, but I don't plan to be walking back here. And since I'm using mulch that'll be heavy, it'll be fine. Okay, let's review. In our first video, we chopped and dropped our old plants and we just left it around the garden to break down. We took out all the support poles and equipment and stored those in the garage. Then today, we've laid down the cardboard. Nothing special to this cardboard, it's just what we collected on recycling day. And we held it all in place with some landscape pins. You can use bricks if you want, or nothing if you plan to put down your heavy mulch the same day. Now tomorrow we're going to come back and put down some bags of wood mulch that I've already bought. And the reason we're doing this is to block weeds and feed the soil. It's really my number one top tip on growing a very productive vegetable garden. Any time of year you can do this, but my favorite time to sheet mulch is in the fall, because over winter, the rain and the snow softens the cardboard. And by spring, it's easy to punch through and plant my transplants. I don't put soil or compost on top of the cardboard. My soil stays under the cardboard. Now, you'll see a lot of no-dig methods. I think especially British no-dig methods, they buy soil or compost and put it on top, but that gets expensive, and I can't afford that. So I plant directly in the soil through the cardboard. Now, it's going to be possible if you sheet mulch in the spring or summer to do this, but you're going to have to use a knife to cut through that fresh cardboard. Fall's the perfect time, though, for having soft cardboard to plant through in the spring. See, we got the mulch all ready to go. It's probably going to be more than we're going to need here in the front. Now let's go look for some strawberries. Ooh, let's pin that guy right over here. A lot of green strawberries and new blossoms, and even a few that are starting to turn color, but nothing's ready yet. Now, this is the area in the front we're not going to sheet mulch because it's full of our spring bulbs, daffodils and tulips. It is a beautiful fall day. The bees love these straw flowers. Tomorrow we're going to deadhead some of the ones that are going to seed, hopefully to get some new blossoms. We're going to cut off ones like that. So I don't know if you can tell, but along the side of the house, the sun's done. It only gets 2 hours of sunlight in the winter. That's a big reason I unstacked the planters, to take full advantage of the limited winter sun. bet you're wondering what that was. That is the base for a small poultry waterer. Because for the last 4 years, I raised quail. Now, once we're done with the front garden, we'll get back to working on mulching the back garden with this humongous mountain of leaves. If you've noticed, most of the back garden's already been sheet mulched with cardboard. Now today, I don't have to worry about closing the door because the wind is going to do it for me. Remember, I don't want to walk in that garage and see the tail of a skunk because this summer it was sleeping in the garage. See, here's the area that we still need to sheet mulch with cardboard. Good morning and welcome back to our garden. Today we need to lay down cardboard and mulch with leaves behind the berries. First, let's go collect the supplies. Oh, hang on. First, we need to feed the birds and the squirrels. Now we're going to mulch right back around here, all along this area. I've already opened the cardboard and sorted it by size. Now, it's important to me that the leaves don't blow into my neighbor's yard and kill their grass. So I plan to lift one edge of the cardboard up against the fence so it blocks the leaves. I've already measured that width, kind of estimating it. Let's check the berry cuttings that we just propagated in our most recent video. It's only been a few days, but they're looking good. So we took cuttings, or we pulled some up from the roots, and we put them in from places that we didn't want them. And we put them in pots, and we're going to leave them outside all winter and check back in the spring for new growth. Now we're going to start here in this area behind the blackberries because it's the widest. It'll be easier. And last, we'll work down at the other end around the raspberries because that's more narrow. So let's go get the biggest pieces of cardboard. Perfect. We don't want to block the carrots down at the end. So it's not exactly against the trellis, but it's close enough. There's a little gap there. And then this is folding nicely up against the fence. Now make sure you overlap your cardboard so weeds don't go through the cracks. See, like here, I've overlapped it. Now I'm going to come back and add one more layer because there's a pretty good sized gap right here. That area right there, we need to make another layer of cardboard later. Any old canes or weeds or old cardboard, I'm just going to leave and cover over it. That's all going to break down into new rich soil. But any tape, plastic, paper that I find, I'll go ahead and pick those up. Let me show you what I mean. All these things, these canes, the weeds, the old cardboard, we're just going to leave. But we'll pick up this other stuff. Yes, it's best practice to take off the tape, but honestly, I do not have the energy or the time for that. But, use your own judgment. If you notice, we still have carrots in the ground, and they're really doing well. This is an old vintage fence, and it can make getting this cardboard through here awkward because the corners get stuck in it. Same thing, they get stuck in the trellis. So take your time and be patient, but it's worth it. And that was perfect size against the T-post. The box almost too big. Now, hammering the pin in near the fence, it kept hitting the base. This fence is not exactly straight. It's very old. We live in an old house, more than 100 years old. We're urban. We live downtown in a row house. Now, we're more than halfway through, but the more challenging part is coming up. Looks like 3 more pieces is going to be enough. These canes right here, we don't want to block this area because that's where the new shoots for the new canes are going to come up next year. So that's why I cut this cardboard so the new shoots can poke through this area. We don't want it right up against them. That looks good. Now, if you're new here to our channel, why am I using the cardboard? Well, it'll block the weeds. That's really my number one reason, blocking the weeds. Also, everything underneath the cardboard is going to break down into new, rich soil. My garden is 1 foot taller than the neighbors on either side. It's because I've been building soil through 11 years of sheet mulching in the cardboard, fall or spring, most of them in the fall. And then I add some type of mulch on top of the cardboard. Either hay, I did that one time, straw, I did that once, wood chips, wood mulch, I've done that many times, and fall leaves, which are my favorite. The fall leaves are free. We just drive around and collect the bags. Also, the cardboard's free. We save our own, but recycling day is a good time to get those good boxes, big boxes. But my big reason is I don't want to pull weeds. It also helps the soil hold moisture. I don't water my garden. I will water young transplants, for about a week until the roots get established. Now, this summer was really dry, the driest year since 1999, and the strawberries were suffering. I had to water them. And I've learned I have to water my blueberry bushes. I haven't always done that, and they've struggled to grow. But peppers and tomatoes, lettuce, carrots, once they're established, I don't water those because the cardboard holds in the moisture. Now I have one more small piece left to do. Now let's put on one more layer up against the trellis. I'm not going to hammer those in, secure them with pins. That looks much better. Not perfect, but it's much better. Now let's go get the leaves. Now you want bags of leaves that are light, not the really heavy ones. And these tiny leaves are perfect from behind the berries because it's so awkward back there. Ah, it's perfect. Feels good to get the front and the back garden, the whole thing mulched. A few leaves left in this bag, and we're going to put them over the garlic because I see some of the shoots exposed, and I don't want those freezing later. Okay, so there's 5 bags of leaves left. And wherever leaves are settled, I'll add some more to that area. Or I'll turn these into leaf mold, like all the other leaves outside. That's going to be a future video. Feels good to be done. It's mid-December right now, but you're going to be seeing this in January. I've worked to make some videos in advance to give myself a Christmas break. Now, I started mulching the garden in October. Now, if you garden with physical limitations like I do a little bit at a time. Don't overdo it and wear yourself out. My approach is, this is my garden, and I can do what works best for me. I mean, I make the rules here. This took a few months to do. Now, I didn't work on it every day. There were other things that I wanted to do too. Now, we still need to tie up the berries. I think that's going to be the next video. And we need to clean up the garden for winter. There's decor and support, different things left around that we need to put in the garage because snow and ice will ruin them. And there's still a few old sunflowers left. Now, in the summer, if you come back, you're going to see I love to grow sunflowers. I tend to put them around the perimeter of the garden. And I share them free with the community. Last year, it was several hundred. And people know to stop by and get a free sunflower transplant. One man last year, a local renovating company that's really popular here in downtown, he stopped his van and he said, "I've been watching for you." And I was outside near the community shelf where people pick up the sunflowers. And he said he brought several sunflowers home and gave them to coworkers, and they were having a contest, see who could grow the biggest sunflower. So that was fun. Yeah. Now today, that was a lot of work. It was small, but it was kind of an awkward area to work in. And the fence T-posts and the fence itself have all these hooks, and they kept catching on my clothes, and the berries kept catching me, so it was awkward, but it was worth doing it. Doing fall and winter prep for the spring and summer is worth my time and energy. It's easy to put it off, but fall really is the best time. Now, behind the berries, I will try to plant a few sunflowers, but that's not really an area I plant in. So that thick cardboard was okay. Other areas in the garden, if I lay down the cardboard in the fall, by spring and summer, that cardboard is soft and it's easy for me to poke through and plant down into the soil. If I lay the cardboard in the spring or summer, then I have to cut through the cardboard to plant. And I've done it before in spring or summer. Now, this garden is no dig. It's been no dig for 11 years. And what I mean by no dig is I put down the cardboard and the mulch, but in the spring and summer, I punch through the cardboard and I plant underneath in the native soil. I don't put a layer of soil or compost on top of the cardboard and plant into that. I poke through the cardboard to the soil underneath. That's my way. It's been good to see you again. I hope you had a good Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope so. Good morning and welcome back to our garden. Today we're going to prune and tie up our blackberries and our raspberry canes. But first we need to feed the birds and the squirrels and then collect our supplies. So come on and help me. Now the raspberries are going to take the most work. So we're going to start down with the blackberries. Because this summer I trimmed off all the dead blackberry canes. So it's going to be a lot less work down there. So let's get the shears and the zip ties. Now these blackberries are thornless. I think the variety is black satin. I'll put it down in the description. So I cut off all the old canes this summer in August after they fruited and they die. And all of these are new canes that grew up this summer. And they're going to fruit this summer. But we need to do a little bit of pruning for size and spacing. So this is a good example. I don't want those to grow down and touch the soil. Remember when we propagated berries and they touched the soil, they grew roots? I'd rather these go laterally. Now this summer, well, the spring and summer, all of these are going to grow little fruiting offshoots. And the fruit will grow on the end of those. So this cane is going to grow these little fingers with fruits on the end this summer. And when the fruit's done, all these canes you see right here, they're going to die. They're not going to fruit in the fall of 2024. They won't fruit in 2025. Only fruit the summer of 2024. But at the same time these are fruiting, new canes are going to come up from the base. That's what's going to fruit the summer of 2025. It's important to leave these now because that's our summer fruit. See if I can film and do the zip ties at the same time. I can't really figure out where to put the tripod. It's so crowded. The fall vegetables are right here at my feet. This is an example of our most recent video where we propagated the berries. This tip, if it touches the soil, it's going to root. That's what we pulled up. So say I'd only bought 1 or 2 plants and I wanted them to spread. I could leave that. I mean, it's really close to the soil. And once it touches the soil, it's going to root. Then when it's rooted, I can cut it here and then tie it laterally and just kind of leapfrog down the trellis to spread the blackberries. But my trellis is full, so I don't want it touching the soil. I can either go behind me or in front. I think I want to train it this way. Now this is where the blackberries end. But here's one that I don't want. I want the raspberries to spread on this side. These blackberries have really aggressive growth. They have done really well. I can either cut it off or train it the opposite way, but the trellis is full down there, so I'm just going to take it off right here. Now you could propagate this. You could try to root it. Cut it, strip the leaves, put it in soil. Cut it, strip the leaves, put it in soil. But I've already propagated enough. Oh, I found one more. Now this summer, I let about 14 new canes grow, and I trimmed off all the others. I mean, there were a lot of other canes down there, but it gets too crowded. But let me show you what I mean by the canes that I let grow up this summer. So yeah, I counted 14. Then I trimmed them at various heights. Some lower ones, some middle ones, and some all the way at the top. And this causes them, well, on these 3 levels, to send out lateral branches. If I let them all grow just all the way as far as I wanted, they just flop over and it would be a mess. But like cutting this at the top, then it grew these 2 lateral branches. That's how I keep them under control. But I'm not picky. It's not perfect. Some go straight, some are crooked, just a variety of ways. And I also don't grow behind the trellis, because these will put little fruiting fingers over the back, little fruiting branches over the back. There will be berries on both sides. I don't need more canes to grow up on the back side. It just gets too crowded. Now I like to keep the lower area clear, because by the time the fruit hangs down there, it's hard to see, it's easy to trip. And you would think the birds would want the fruit from the bottom, but no, they like to get the fruit higher up. That's our biggest challenge, is the birds. I've tried netting, but oh my goodness, it was so frustrating. I really struggled with it. Sometimes birds got stuck in it, and more often I got stuck in it. So we just share with the birds. And like this summer, we got many gallons of berries, and we still have a bunch in the freezer. I plan to make jam. Now the raspberries are very different. They're going to fruit twice. The blackberries, they just fruit once. I do want them to spread more. They're spreading slowly. I did buy 3 plants, raspberry plants, at the same time as those blackberries, but they just never really grew. This one I've had for quite a while, and it's just one plant that has slowly spread. It's really the best one. I think I know the variety. I'll put the name down in the description. I bought these both from Home Depot, but they don't sell these varieties anymore. But I can still put the name down in the description. Now all these canes just finished fruiting in November. Let me show you. Thorns. Okay. So this is where we picked off all of the fruit, and that was just the middle parts that were left. August until it froze. We call them our fall berries. But we're going to leave them because they're going to fruit again in June. They're all going to fruit again in June. At the same time, new shoots are going to come up this summer, spring and summer, just like the blackberries. New shoots are going to come up. That's what's going to fruit August 2024 until the freeze. But the blackberries, what comes up in the summer, isn't going to fruit in the fall. I am going to put gloves on, but first let's go get a bucket to put the trimmings in so we can compost it. These were the very last flowers, but they didn't have time to develop. Now here's the original plant. Let me show you the base. And it has slowly spread. 3 or 4 years? It's probably really more like 5. Every year it moves a little bit more. Now let's sit down and discuss different tie-up options. So you've seen me use zip ties. That's the easiest for me. I don't like that they're plastic, but they're the easiest for me. I also have used this Echo twist. You can cut it to length. I feel it's a better option if you recycle the metal. But it's going to be more work. I've got quite a few already cut up. Then there's this stretchy tape. I bought this last year. For the berries, I really don't like how it looks. It's just the green stands out against the brown. So I'm not going to buy that again. And you can just use regular old cotton string. That you can put in the compost. It will eventually break down. Also, brown twine. That's another good eco-friendly option. There's a lot of different kinds of tie-ups. There's clamps, there's these little gadgets where it wraps around the plant, the little tie, a variety of things. But honestly, this is the easiest for me. I have arthritis and my hands wear out easy. Now this one will rust. Except for the string, you're going to have to pick all these up out of the garden. Okay, let's get these tied up. Okay, first I'm going to get out that green stretchy tape cut out. I see this area doesn't have any support. If I added support, if I extended this trellis, then I couldn't walk behind to harvest. So I tend to tie all those together and kind of pull them up against this pole. So we're going to do that first so these get better under control. Right now they look okay. They're nice and sturdy, but when the new heavy growth gets on there, they're just going to lean over. There's already new leaf buds on here. Life never stops. The birds have been busy. Okay, let's review. All of these raspberry canes, they grew new this summer, spring and summer, but they didn't fruit until fall. Looks better. And now they're going to fruit again in 2024 around June. Then they will die. And all these blackberries, they also grew in the summer, but they haven't fruited. But they will fruit the summer of 2024, but not in the fall. After they fruit in the summer of 2024, they'll die. So the raspberries fruit twice and the blackberries fruit once. And they're both going to send up new growth this spring and summer. Looks good. Now we need to clean up. Now we need to open the green stalk. Sun's about to come around the corner. We're going to have to close it again tonight. It's going to be really cold. I didn't mention, it's mid-December right now. You can still see the Christmas flag. It's still Christmas here. I made a bunch of videos ahead to give myself a Christmas break. See how the sun's kind of coming around soon. I think it only gets about 2 hours of sunlight here in the winter. That's one reason I stacked them, to give it more access to rain and sun. Most of these plants can survive the cold, but some of them, like some of the herbs, sometimes they don't survive the winter, so that's why I'm covering them. Now the berries are all done until spring, because they're not going to grow anymore right now. If you're curious how I feed them, I don't buy any special fertilizer for berries. Now I will the blueberry bushes. I just put my coffee grounds around them, the fall leaves, old plant matter, old canes that I chop off, I'll leave around the base. I think I made a short about that. Just different organic matter, cardboard, but not too close, because you want to make sure the new canes can come up in the spring and summer. I just let it feed itself. So 4 years, every year we have plenty of berries. Oh, the other thing, I meant to check the price. Organic berries are expensive. And the shelf life is so short. It was a challenge before. We bought them a lot for Dale, and 2 days they were spoiled. So growing your own is really worth it, because wow, they're expensive, and these are basically free. Now check back this winter, and I'm going to be making jam from the berries we harvested in the summer. I like to wait until the winter, the cold weather, so I don't heat up the house. But now I have a new electric canner, so that's exciting. Good morning, and welcome back to our garden. It's time to work on the back garden again. Now remember that area that we planted garlic? It's already sprouting because of the warm fall that we've had. But it's going to get down to 22 pretty soon, so we need to protect that area. We also have a little bit of cardboard. We still need to sheet mulch one area of the garden. Then we can cover everything with leaves. We also need to add a few hoops. So come on, let's get the supplies. Here's the area we're going to work in today. But first, we need to feed the birds and the squirrels, and it's too warm for this coat, so let's take this off. First, we need to take off the protective cover. Can you see the garlic sprouting over there? It's because the fall weather's been so up and down. Lots of warm days, but no more. That's done. We have ice. Don't have to put any cardboard here because we don't want to block the garlic. But I did cardboard around here this summer around the other edges and added some fresh wood mulch. Hope the squirrels don't dig in that area. We can always get the net back out. Now let's get the carrots covered with some leaves. I'm just going to leave the carrots in the ground until I need to harvest them. They're going to be fine in this cold weather. If it's going to get really low, like in the single digits, then I might harvest them all. But the last few years, my ground is never fully frozen, so we'll see about this year. Now, I did pull out all the green leaves, the carrot leaves. I pulled those out and then put the fall brown leaves underneath so that the green leaves wouldn't drown. And I do have hoops here in case I need to cover it with fleece, but we're not going to worry about that today. Now, why am I using fall leaves? Why not wood chips? Why not hay or straw? Well, number one, the leaves are free, and I like that. But they also have a variety of nutrients in them. All those different colors of fall leaves, yellows, reds, oranges. That's a variety of different chemicals and nutrients to feed the soil. I have used wood mulch in the past. Well, you saw it. I used it in the front garden. I used it because I wanted it to look prettier in the front and I didn't want the leaves blowing in the street. But here in the back, I prefer to use my fall leaves. I also have strawberries along the edge, and we're going to mulch those too. Now, I've read that the recommendation is in the fall to mow them down, but I've never had success with that. They've always done best if I just leave them alone and let them go to sleep and the leaves just die off naturally and cover it with a very thin layer of mulch. But you do what works for you. That's important. Do what works for you. Now, why didn't I use hay or straw? I've used in the past, and for me, it just got slimy. But it might work for you. The key is mulch. Whichever works best for you. I prefer the free leaves. Make sure you recycle your bags. Give them to your neighbor or put them down in the garden to block weeds or something. Now the fall vegetables in front of the blackberries, I started to put the leaves behind them, but I remembered I want to lay down that fleece before I get the leaves behind that low tunnel. We're not going to need the fleece tonight, but pretty soon in the next few days. What's there right now is netting. It was to protect them from the bugs and the squirrels. This fleece is several years old, and I found that this one had a big tear in it that I had taped last year, but it's not going to last. So we're going to cut it off, and it's going to be too short. We're going to have to use it somewhere else in the garden. Now what's growing there in the fall vegetables? Well, we have Napa cabbage, Brussels sprouts. I hear the hawk. No, I'm wrong. It's blue jays. Sometimes they make the sound of a hawk to scare off the other birds. We have bok choy, kale, a variety of things. I mainly use them for greens. I doubt the Brussels sprouts have time to develop their little buds, but I can still use the greens. Now we're gonna open it up. Oh, the birds are distracting me. And we're gonna add some leaves. But first, before we add the leaves, we're gonna add Sluggo, because I suspect slugs have been chewing on those leaves. It's just over here. It's not in the rest of the garden. And we're gonna harvest some of the leaves too. We don't need these sticky papers anymore. They were for the gnats. They're just not around anymore, so we're gonna throw those away. Now, Sluggo is organic, and it's not gonna hurt the other animals. But the birds love this stuff, and they will peck through that netting. So I'm gonna make sure I put it down first under the leaves. Hopefully that's going to help with the slugs. That's one negative about mulching your garden is slugs love the moist environment. But mulching is still worth it. Now when you're using the leaves, always use gloves. You never know what's been put in these bags. Now you are going to find sticks. Just put them in the compost to break down. So before we close this up, let's harvest some leaves. I'm not closing it for the bugs. They're kind of over with, but we don't want the squirrels digging in there. Yesterday I bought this basket. Sorry, I kicked you guys. I bought this at Goodwill. That is a good place to find cheap baskets. Also garage sales, yard sales, those kind of places. We're going to harvest leaves from the big plants, like the Napa cabbage. If the leaves are really damaged from the slugs, they're not inedible. But if they've got lots of holes, we'll put them in the compost. But remember, organic food comes with bug damage. Now make sure you leave the center of the plant to grow some more. I'm kind of thinking this is 2 Napa cabbages growing together. But with this really cold weather coming, it's going to grow really slowly, or maybe not at all, but we have plenty more in the garden. We're not going to harvest from the small plants. And any really damaged leaves, we're just going to go ahead and put those in the compost. It's a nice cool day, so we'll just leave these outside until we're ready to go in. We'll give them a good wash. Along the edge, we have celery, cilantro, and lettuce. Most of the lettuce along the edge I've already harvested. And it's been fine in the 20s so far, but 3 days from now, getting down to 22, that's cutting it close. So we're going to cover those too. But first we need to get this netting closed. Now I have 1 onion and a few beets, and I want next year for them to go to seed. So I've left them in the garden. The onion did something really cool. I grew this from seed, started in the basement, and I harvested all of them, and I left 1 onion in the garden. I thought it had died, but it came back and it was growing again, and 1 onion turned into multiple onions. That was 1 onion bulb. It was 1 red Italian flat onion. And it's divided and made 8 stems. It is an heirloom seed. I've had this happen before when I've planted bulbs. But this is from seed, an heirloom seed that I grew myself. I think that's really cool. Now, if it survives the winter and the spring, it'll produce seeds for me. I also want to save seeds from the beets and the cabbages, and all 3 of those take 2 seasons to go to seeds. That means when you plant them from seed in the spring and they grow throughout the summer, then they have to go through the winter time, that cold time, to send up their flower stalk. But I need to trim off the beet leaves and put soil on top of them to protect the roots from the freezing cold temperatures. I've read about it, but I've never tried it, so let's see if it's going to work. So there's 6 beets. I think I'm going to trim off the tops of the onions too. Now the rain will help that soil to settle. Now let's set up the fleece. We don't need to cover it tonight, but I want to have it ready. I see 2 small holes. And I have 2 kind of fleece. This is an older one. It's a lot thinner and it tears easily. The other one I have is thicker, but I don't have enough of those. So I'm going to use this weatherproof tape to see if I can nurse this through one more winter. Now here's the area that still needs to be worked on. Still needs cardboard. I have 2 cabbages. I'm going to leave them because I want to see if they'll go to seed next year. Can they survive the winter? I am going to cover them with the fleece. You see these petunias is still alive. It's amazing. It's right there. Now there's finally no more flowers on it, but it means that this area is a microclimate. It's a little more protected. We've had a lot of nights in the 20s. Then the day after tomorrow, we're going to work on this area. Then the whole garden will be mulched, front and the back. Well, the mulching's going to be done, but we're going to still have some other things to do to clean up for really cold weather that's coming. It's going to feel good for the garage to be free of leaves. Speaking of bags of leaves, let's take care of these. Before we clean up, I want to show you some of the other vegetables and fruits in the garden. The difference is interesting. These are the same vegetables: bok choy, kale, Swiss chard, Napa cabbage, kohlrabi. But it's bigger because it gets much more sun here. Then the kale in front of it is smaller because I planted them later. So the time you plant and how much sun is going to make a difference. But let me show you what I planted even earlier than these. And they're still small. These are still tiny. And it's because this area in the fall doesn't get much sun. They really haven't grown much. But interestingly, the bok choy is doing well. This is the first time my bok choy hasn't bolted. It either bolts from getting too hot or getting too cold. So next year, I need to remember this is where I need to plant my bok choy. I have some over there, but the slugs have really chewed through it. So always learning something every year.
Now another fruit we're growing is strawberries. Here in our garden, I have the most success along the edges. They seem to hold in the moisture well. So we have strawberries along here and along here. These are June bearing. That means they fruit May to June, and then they're done. But they are really good. I like them. Now this is our blueberry bush. I used to have 4. I gave 2 to my neighbor, and I gave 1 to the community. Now if you grow blueberries, you need more than 1 variety. So I have 1, and there's 2 over there. So there's actually 3 different varieties close together here. And these are our raspberries. It's interesting. These canes right here that you see behind me, they've already fruited in the fall. Like they started in August and they've just stopped. You see there's still some fruit on there. I don't cut these down though, I leave them because in the spring they're going to fruit again. And at the same time, new shoots are going to grow up from the ground. And those will fruit in the fall. So the new growth fruits in the fall and then again in the spring. We've had these for several years and we really enjoy them. I ordered them from Home Depot, I think, and I can look and see what variety these are. Really like this. Dale has really enjoyed these raspberries, and I have a freezer full, and later during the winter, I'm going to make jam. And we have lots of lettuces. I start most of my plants from seeds in the basement. We call it the grow room. And now these are going to grow very slowly. But the last few months we've been harvesting a lot of lettuce. When it cools off, it's a good time to grow your lettuce. But 22 is cutting it close. Now if you've noticed in my videos, I really try to keep things cleaned up, not leave things scattered. And the reason is because I manage rheumatoid arthritis. Now, that's different than your old age arthritis, osteoarthritis, which of course I have that too. I'm getting close to 60. But my RA, I do have a weekly injection that helps manage it. And I'm able to do so much, but I still get tired easy. I still have more limitations. So I don't want to leave things laying around, projects half finished, and then not be able to finish it later. So in 2011, when I was first hit with RA, I hadn't yet discovered sheet mulching with cardboard. And it hit me in the spring, in May, and right after I'd planted the garden. And poor Dale, he was so busy trying to take care of me. I was stuck in bed. I couldn't function. The weeds just grew and grew and grew. But when I discovered the cardboard method, now I did try weed fabric, and my ground just got too dry. It just didn't work for me. Now it might work for you, and that's fine. Do what's best for you. But anyway, but the cardboard really helped me because now if I have an arthritis flare, or if something happens, I don't have that pressure of weeds getting out of control. That's also why I keep things organized. I like to be busy. I never run out of things that I want to do. I mean, never. The only thing I run out of is energy, time, and money. So if I stay organized, I can get more done. Now, if you garden with limitations, let me encourage you, just do your best. Do what you can. Now, let's go look at the front garden and see what we did yesterday. Oh, there's a squirrel there. I hate to interrupt him. He'll come back. The green stalk is doing well. Last night I had to cover it. I haven't had to cover it for 4 or 5 nights, but it got cold last night. Now this is a microclimate here. It gets warmer this area, but it also gets windy, like a wind tunnel. Today I never opened it. It is best when it gets above freezing to take the fleece off your plants. It helps cut down on diseases. So remember, when it's above freezing, open your fleece. I just got busy and forgot. Yesterday we went to the tree farm, cut down a Christmas tree. You see that shadow? That's the street light pole. It was fun. It's a fun family tradition. Fortunately, the grandkids were sick and couldn't come, but Dale and I enjoyed ourselves. Now, I think the strawberries are finally done. These right here have been half red for more than a week. I don't think they're going to change. The animals can have them now. Now, back behind me here are our blackberries. And these are different than the raspberries. In the summer, the canes grow up. And I'll trim them for the shape I want. In the spring, they're going to grow offshoots from those branches and fruit at the end of those. And in the fall, they all die. So while they're growing in the summer from the ground, leave them because that's next year's fruit. In the fall, all the leaves will fall off, and then the little fruiting stems come out. So at the time that they're fruiting, new canes grow up from the ground. So the ones that have fruited won't fruit again, but the new ones growing up in the summer, you have to leave for next year. They don't fruit twice like the raspberries, only once. Close the garage door because you don't want the skunk sleeping inside. But if it happens, what do? You get a powerful flashlight. And it doesn't like that, and it'll find its way back out. For us, there was a little dip in the driveway, and it scooted under the outside garage door. That's blocked now, but close that door. So tomorrow, we're going to work on that area back there. We're going to cover it with cardboard, pull out the petunias, put on our leaves, set up our hoops, protect our cabbages. Basically what we did today, but in a different area. And the day after tomorrow, we're going to work on that other side of the garden to get ready for this cold weather. A lot of people stop working outside in the fall, but I just like to keep going. I find plenty to do. So if you're still interested in the garden this time of year, come on back and visit again.
Good afternoon and welcome back to our garden on this cold, windy day. Now, It's December, but we still have fresh vegetables in the garden. It's time to harvest some turnips and cook those for my lunch, plus some things for Dell's salad, carrots, and a few lettuces. So come on, let's go get our supplies. Now this morning I already fed the birds and the squirrels, but I think they'd like a second breakfast. Now I've waited for the temperatures to warm up above freezing before I harvested, because if you touch the leaves below freezing, it can cause damage. Let's find some big carrots for Dell's salad. That's fun. That'll be enough. Now I see 2 lettuces that are big enough to harvest. They've really not grown much, but it's cold today, but soon it's going to have 60-degree weather. This December has been crazy. So let's harvest these 2. I've also had to buy some from the store. Now, I've only had to cover the lettuce once with fleece. That's when it got down to 21 degrees. Lettuce will handle mid to upper 20s really well. And most of this lettuce still looks really good. We're going to cut off the carrot tops and just leave them out here in the garden. Now let's get some turnips for my lunch. Dell's not crazy about turnips, but oh, I think they're delicious roasted. Now remember how we covered these turnips with leaves because I wasn't ready to harvest them? But today I want to get all the big ones. It's like a treasure hunt. That is beautiful. And there's a lot of big ones. There's some small ones too that I'm going to leave there. I'm not sure they're going to grow anymore, but we'll see. Let's go inside and work in the warm kitchen. Okay, we're going to start by washing the lettuce since the roots are so dirty. I've already got all my supplies set out. But first, let's set the oven to 400 degrees for my lunch. Now let's get the carrots washed. But before we do that, I have some beets and cabbage stored in the refrigerator for several months that are from the garden. So let me show you what they look like. So here are the beets. And here's the cabbage. Any dry or old spots, just cut them off. Like, see how the beets dried out here on the end? And the end of the cabbage needs to be cut off, and it'll be fine. So young, tender homegrown beets don't need to be peeled. The skin just scrubs right off. Now I'm lucky that Dale will eat almost any vegetable raw in a salad. He's just not crazy about cooked vegetables. I feel very blessed to be able to feed him this variety of rich, deep colors. Now these beets and cabbage, I've switched to a new baggie with a new paper towel to soak up the moisture and keep them fresh longer. And this leftover cabbage will store well in the refrigerator. There weren't any beets left over. Now we're going to start washing the dirty carrots and turnips. Like the beets, the homegrown carrots don't need to be peeled either. The skins scrub off really easily. Dale likes his vegetables thin, so grating them works well for me. I also put the carrots that were left over in some paper towel in a baggie, and it should last until next week because they're very fresh. Now Dale's set for the week with salad, and I'm hungry, so let's get to washing and cutting up those turnips and get them in the oven. So we're going to bake them for 45 minutes. It's just simple meat, vegetables, and coconut oil. Roasted in the oven. It's my favorite way of eating. I love vegetables. Well, and I love meat too. I'm going to keep this in the refrigerator. Now the rest of these turnips, we're going to cut off the tops and leave a little bit on there. We're going to cut off the roots and we're going to rinse them with water, but we're not going to scrub them. We're not going to scrub them until we use them. It's best not to scar the skins while they're storing in the fridge. Now the greens are edible, but I've just harvested a mountain of greens. If you saw our most recent video, you know what I'm talking about. So we're going to just put these in the compost. Now, all of these turnips will last for several months in the refrigerator. Ooh, it's smelling good, so let's peek and see how it's doing. Roasting is going to make the turnips more sweet. Now, you can peel them to cut down on that turnip taste, but I want to keep that purple color and the nutrients that come along with that. Now, while that's cooking, let me show you what came in the mail. I'm so excited. I actually got two. I'm not sure why I got two. I'm really looking forward to looking through this. I know I got it because I just ordered some seeds. Have you gotten yours? Two is perfect because a lot of times I cut out the pictures and I decoupage things in my grow room. I also treated myself for Christmas. Let me show you what I bought. Today's a perfect day because it's cold and windy. And after this hard work, to sit and leaf through these beautiful pictures. What do you look forward to growing next year? You have anything special, anything new? This is my first time buying the whole seed catalog. It's $15. I love seeds. I'm going to rest while this finishes cooking, and then I'll show you when it's done. Oh, before I forget, let me show you how Dale likes to eat his salads. He always has cheese on it. And this is cheddar. And he's crazy about blue cheese dressing. I like this brand because there's no sugar in it and no soy. I used to make my own, but this is easier. I make so many things from scratch. It's nice to have a few products that I can buy ready-made. This is perfect. Nice and brown, exactly the way I like it. Now let's give it a taste. It's tender. Sweet. Now, yes, it still has a spicy turnip taste, but it's much sweeter. I'm really looking forward to eating this. Thank you for visiting our garden and kitchen. See you later. Bye-bye.